Hey, what's up, nerds? If you follow this channel or you've just heard me on anywhere on the internet, be it podcasts, social media, anything like that, you would know that I have a deep love for retro shooters and the current throwback shooter, renaissance that we're in the middle of. So when 3D Realms announced Realms Deep 2020, I was excited. I was very excited. A whole virtual conference convention devoted to, essentially, entirely to throwback shooters. There's a couple other types of games in there. Some of them weren't exactly shooters. They were first-person adventures, things like that. All good. But when I actually watched, it was 2 days of conferences, both 2 hours and some change, I couldn't help but be underwhelmed. It's hard to say that there was nothing here. There was a lot here. There was some announcements that I really enjoyed, and I'll get into those. But I won't talk about everything, because I think that was the problem with Realms Deep, is that they talked about everything. And when you have such a niche genre, when you're flooding the people viewing with games that are directly in their wheelhouse, it becomes a bit of an overload, and not in a good way. Like I said, I was underwhelmed, not overwhelmed. It's so hard to talk bad about this, and I'm not talking about the cheesy presentations and the clearly uncoordinated Zoom meetings and all of that. That's fine. That didn't bother me. It was cute on occasion. What I'm talking about is just I hate to call anything here mediocre, too, because obviously I haven't played everything here, but some of it is just clearly stuff coming out that has already been served. Some of it was stuff that has been out for 2-3 years already, more. And they're running trailers for it they're running original trailers for it saying coming this date, 2018. What are you doing? What are you doing? And I get that the concept was to show everything that might interest this crowd. And that's interesting in theory, but in execution, like I said, it's just too much. And by the end of all of this, I just felt like this is the most mundane collection of shooters that I've ever seen. And it's not. There's plenty of good here. But by the end of it, I was drained. I was absolutely drained. I think this was an unfocused presentation when it really, really should have been focused. You could have done one day, done all of the new stuff, and if you wanted to have some events on a second day, fine. Or if you wanted to pepper more events in, I get that that's difficult given that this is a virtual conference. But to just constantly be pushing and pushing out and showing all of the stuff that most of us within this community know about already, I didn't need a Maximum Action trailer, New Blood. I didn't. That is the eternally incomplete game that is eternally not that great. So, I don't know why you're pushing another trailer for me. I get that it's still in early access, but it's been in early access for years now, and it's not really. I mean, I guess it's probably better than it was a few years ago, but it just feels like the albatross around New Blood's neck at this point. Like, finish it or don't. I don't care anymore. An unfortunate Spaceman ad. Okay, I mean, it announced that it was free to play, but it's been free to play for I don't know how long. I've had it for a little while. Tim Willett's interviews, things like that. I mean, the interviews actually were good, even with Tim Willett's. And that was an interesting part. That better than 3-year-old trailers. I'm just kind of off the cuff here. I didn't have time to script this. I didn't want to script this. I just wanted to have a reaction. I just wanted to give you my thoughts on Realms Deep. Big presentations work when there is something for everybody. And this was not something for everybody. It was all something for the retro FPS community. And, we're good. We're good. We didn't need this much. And it's nice. Like I said, it's a nice idea to be like, okay, this is the first big one of these. We should show everything that's out. Pretty much everything. Anything that would interest this crowd, we should try to get into this presentation. That's cute, but again, just did not work for me. Did not work for me, and I don't want to keep repeating myself on this. But there are some real highlights from it, and that's kind of what I want to do here is take some of those and let you know what I thought was a standout thing. That way, you don't have to go through the whole 4-hour presentation and wonder what's good. But I think some of this stuff that I found really cool, just to me, was buried in a sea of very similar things or things that can be misconstrued as similar. So I want to tell you what stood out to me. That way I feel like, I don't know, some of these are getting a more fair shake, even though this is going to get significantly less views than Realms Deep, I'm sure. Be nice if it didn't. Like and comment and all that. And let me take a little break and I'll get into it. The first thing that really caught my eye, and I'd say that not necessarily in the most positive way, but Brutal Fate. Brutal Fate is by the guy who did the Brutal Doom mod, which to me is one of the honestly worst things to ever happen to the Doom modding community. I know a lot of people love it, and that Andrew Hulshult soundtrack is fantastic. No shade there. But Brutal Doom's not fun to me. Brutal Doom ruins Doom. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but Brutal Fate I thought looked interesting. It is again on the GZ Doom engine, and that's cool. Like it's cool that we are still using the Doom engine, or a source port of it, to turn out more games like this. And I'll definitely check it out. It's definitely on my radar, but I don't know. I think my entire misgivings are that I did not like Brutal Doom. So we'll have to see. Hellhunt stood out to me a little bit, mostly in that it looks like it's a very similar concept to Hellbound, which came out this year. I think early access. I don't think it's in a full release yet, and I don't like Hellbound that much. I'm not going to give you a full I'm not going to slam Hellbound too much. I haven't gotten that far into it, but I didn't get that far into it because I was not enjoying it. So, Hellhunt, more Doom stuff. Okay, I'll download the. There's a demo on itch. I'll download that and check it out, and maybe I'll give you a little more thoughts on that later. But past that, we got some Postal 4 stuff. Postal's not my bag. Postal will never be my bag. I've tried them. I tried 2. I think I own 1. I've never bothered to play it. It's just not my thing. I get it. I get the appeal of it. The sense of humor is juvenile, and I'm not here to say a bunch of negative things about that. If that's your sense of humor, that's fun. I understand that it's not to be taken seriously, but it doesn't do anything for me, and it's just kind of it was just kind of source engine jank. That's all it ever was to me. Where you can pee on things. So whatever. So Postal 4 doesn't tick my boxes. Even Postal 4 themes and Unfortunate Spacemen does nothing for me. But Postal Brain Damaged, which looks like a campaign shooter in the postal world. I guess it's all in the postal guy's head. I don't know, but it looks like a lot of fun. So that is on my radar, and that I think looks interesting. Cyberhook looks pretty cool. Looks like it's a first-person perspective puzzle game. It looks like you're solving puzzles, zipping around with a hook, and it's all that, Tron-looking neon lighting. Just boxes and shapes, and supposed to be within a computer, I guess. You can find dozens of asset flip games. It's somewhat, I don't say that too dismissive. You can flip assets, and as long as you make a good game, that's fine. But you can find dozens and dozens of games on Steam with a lot of these same assets. So it's not maybe as visually striking as they would hope, because I think they wanted this to be like, oh, it looks like Tron. It's like, I think I know the package that you bought to make this game, but that's fine. I think it looks like a cool puzzle game. I'll check it out. Core Decay was the big closer for day one, and I thought that looked very interesting. And then they said it's kind of a System Shock Deus Ex type game, and not my thing. System Shock is cool. I should probably have given it more time. Deus Ex is, again, just personal preference here. Deus Ex is a snoozer for me. So, Gerald accuses me of having no attention span and disliking anything that makes me take time between shooting things. That's not entirely true, but sometimes it is. Just nothing about comparing itself to those games really does anything for me. Effigy, I thought looked very cool. My immediate reaction, my immediate note was Quake 2 meets Dusk. And then later, once you get to the interview with the developer afterwards, he said at one point he was worried that he was just making a Quake 2 fan game. I was like, okay, that makes sense. But he also said that there are Metroidvania elements to it, which sounds cool to me. I mean, it's no secret that I'm no fan of Quake 2, but if you put elements where I might have to crisscross through some levels after, getting some items, maybe I'll love that. Maybe I'll despise it. Hard to say. That is hard to say, but that is definitely on my radar as well. There was a Blood Fresh Supply ad. And again, that goes to just like, what are we doing? Do we have to show everybody everything that's ever come out? Because Blood Fresh Supply, which was a new source port by Night Dive, and that came out 2 years ago. I don't get it. Some of these I'm going to list off, you might come at me and be like, well, that came out 2 years ago and I didn't know about it, which might turn around and be like, okay, well, I guess that was the point. But, I didn't check the dates on every single one of these, so that is entirely possible. But let's get into day 2. Day 2 opened up with Sin Reloaded, which is Night Dive. Night Dive once again resurrecting an old game. And that's rad. Sin is cool, and that is probably going to be the best way to play that. Very interested in that. We got a game called War Mongrels, which is not an FPS. It was one of the few non-FPS games shown here. And I thought it looked interesting, but it seemed to be a very slow and methodical thing in a sea of fast-paced action shooters. So it kind of, I mean, it's good that they put it up top so that it gets a little more notoriety there. It's a real-time tactics game set in World War II. I guess you're defecting Nazi soldiers. Sounds cool. Sounds cool. I actually will probably check this out. I'm glad they put this up front and didn't just put it where it would just get buried. Proteus goes into early access on November 10th. That's the game where it's kind of like Doom 3 meets old Dooms, where you got sprites instead of 3D modeled enemies. That looks cool. I'm way into Proteus. H-Rod, if that's how you pronounce that. I've always just call it Soviet Dusk. That looks cool. Some more Night Dive stuff. They showed the Blade Runner Enhanced Edition, and that was just several minutes of side-by-side comparison of like the old video quality and their new like up-res 4K video quality, and that was boring. That Blade Runner game's great though, so that's fun. Strife coming to the Nintendo Switch. Wild. That is the forgotten id Software game. Who put that together? Rogue? I can't remember the name of the team that developed that. But that was, produced by id Software back in the 90s on the Doom engine. It is it's a first-person, adventure RPG game on the Doom engine, and it's good, and it has some great shooting mechanics. It's a lot of fun. I believe Night Dive, that was one of the first things that Night Dive remastered and made more widely available, because it was not available for a long time. I remember Steam used to do the big id Software sales, and everything with Strife would be there. So this is cool, and it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. That's fun, I guess. I love my Switch. I don't know. Shove everything on there. That's fine. That's fine with me. We got more. We get back into some New Blood stuff, and this was the highlight stuff for me. Dusk on Switch. There's a new endless level that is the Mamma Mia Flesh Palace, I think is what they called it, and it's very clearly Peach's Castle, except with Dusk assets, and it just looks kind of warped and horrifying. And there's Mario sounds as you kill everything, and that's going to be on the Switch version. That's fun. The Fallen Aces Gangster, kind of 2D animated looking first-person perspective game, looks like a lot of fun. That was the new game reveal from New Blood that they kind of hyped up. Didn't immediately make me want to go out and buy it, but New Blood seldom lets me down, so I'm certain I'm going to check that out. The real thing that caught me by surprise, and I was not expecting, was A Medieval The Black Labyrinth, which is a full prequel expansion featuring all new weapons. It is, it's set right up before A Medieval, where you get the Axe of the Black Labyrinth, which is your starting weapon in that game. So that means there's going to be a whole different slate of weapons, because you do not have any of the weapons that you get in the game proper. So that sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds like almost a new game to me. If you're going to do that, because A Medieval is about the weapons, as I will always say. I mean, all of the enemies are just there to be destroyed by those red-ass weapons. So that's awesome. Hellscreen, I really like the aesthetics of. Does not necessarily look like it's reinventing the wheel here, but I guess that is the point. This is reinventing the wheel, going back and and doing the old stuff that we thought we had moved on from. Hyperviolent looked kind of like Marathon, didn't really stand out for me. Kingpin Reloaded, that's cool. I've never been into the Kingpin games, but Limitless Hunger was cool for the Civi call out, but didn't look like that interesting to me. This is where we got that Maximum Action trailer. Nightmare Reaper Chapter 2, I mean, I guess that's adding more to the early access because that is still in early access. Rise of the Triad, the original version, is getting a new source port. 3D Realms is giving that a new source port, which is great because the fan-made source ports are honestly kind of trash. Like, I don't even mess with the source ports when I go back and play Rise of the Triad. I just play plain old Rise of the Triad in, you know, the old aspect ratio looking like hell, because it's not worth it to mess with the source port to me. It's not. Somebody might disagree with that, but no, it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, coming to all consoles next year. Nothing else stood out to me. Viscera Fest. Viscera Fest looks cool. That's been going around, getting a lot of reviews. Warfork, I guess, has been out a while. That looked interesting to me. It's a free-to-play arena shooter, multiplayer arena shooter. I'll check that out, but I don't think that's anything new. But it made me aware of it, so job well done, I guess. And there's an Ion Fury expansion pack, and that's how we close this out. And that's fantastic. If you haven't played Ion Fury, I talk about it all the time. It's a wonderful game. Wonderful game on the build engine. 3D Realms, Void Point. 3D Realms published, Void Point developed. So getting an expansion pack for that. Really, it's the expansion packs for Medieval and Ion Fury that really got me excited. So playing more of games that I already love is, you know, never going to let me down, I guess. So the big takeaways for me were those two. The source port of Rise of the Triad, Effigy, I think. Those are the three things that really got me. That and Postal Brain Damage. I didn't think that I would come away from this wanting to play a Postal game. Whenever they did the whole bit with running with scissors, going to their office, and you know, did there's a whole skit that they did before the trailer reveal. I was just like, God, I don't care what running with scissors is doing, and I ended up caring what running with scissors is doing. Of course, we saw more of Ultra Kill, which looks great. They've got that in early access on Steam. Go check that out. I haven't played that early access demo. I just played the original demo that was on itch. Trying to round this out to an even 5 to really make my highlights here. So I think I'm going to have to go with the Ion Fury expansion pack, Medieval, the Black Labyrinth, Proteus, Rise of the Triad, source port, and yeah, Effigy. So keep an eye on those, and I guess Postal Brain Damage, so that's an even 6. Those are my big takeaways from this. If you have any thoughts on Realms Deep, were you disappointed? Were you excited? Do you want them to keep doing this every year? I don't know what they can do next year is the thing. They have to slim it down because you can't run the same trailers in a new thing next year. Or maybe, you know, next year we'll be past all of this current circumstance, and they will actually make it a big event. Maybe some kind of convention that, you know, press or you know even fans can come to. Maybe they can do some tournaments and stuff like that. A little bit of esports. That'd be cool. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Like and comment and like this video if you liked it. Dislike it if you dislike it, and you know, let me know what you thought about Realms Deep. Let me know what you think they can do next year. Let me know what your highlights were. All right. See you in the next one.